Welcome to the Rise Together podcast weekly hot take series. Every week, we're going to bring you powerful stories and strategies from leaders who are making a real impact by building stronger, more resilient communities. Get ready to be inspired, motivated, and equipped with the tools to thrive in both your personal and professional life.
Hi, everybody. This is Beth Almaris with the Foundation for Family and Community Healing. Excited to be here with you today. Our organization is dedicated to helping individuals and organizations build strength and resilience through skill-based education. We have a great guest today. I'm excited to introduce you to Mike Francis, who is the co-founder and president of Francis LLC. How you doing today, Mike?
Doing well, and you?
I'm peachy keen.
Cool.
So you ready to get started, Mike?
Absolutely.
All right. So why don't you tell us about your organization?
Sure. So we've been around for a little over 20 years. And I think at its core, what we do is help the American worker who lacks in training and education on financial matters attain some level of financial wellness.
Financial wellness. Is that a term that you hear often? I love it.
Yeah, the American worker has, back in the 50s and 60s, you went to work for a company and you could work there for 40 years and retire with a pension and get a check in the mail every month until you die. And in the early 80s, that shifted pretty dramatically, and corporations went away from the pension plan towards the 401k retirement program. And in doing so, foisted a number of very significant decisions on their workers. And these are sometimes difficult decisions, especially for the younger folks who are just new into the workforce, but decisions that are really critical in laying a foundation and groundwork for a secure financial future. And so recognizing that way back when, we started an organization that would work for an employer and help them educate their employees about all things financial.
That's fantastic. And how many folks are you working with? How many organizations?
We have about 100 clients right now, and about 160,000 employees that we're communicating with in some shape or form.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I remember my father-in-law is retired from UPS and he had a pension, and I grew up on the East Coast and I didn't know anybody that still had pensions. So it was really interesting for me to hear all about it. It was something that, I just never knew about. So it really did, the whole landscape changed for folks.
No doubt. And, unfortunately, we don't do a very good job as a country giving students information and education on personal financial matters and financial literacy. So
it's so true. I always thought there should be some sort of mandatory consumer or like personal finance class. Like we have to take algebra, we have to take all these things that are phenomenal,
yes,
but maybe not daily applicable. And we don't get that. And then many of us go off to college and you get all those credit card, things in your mailbox, and you're like, oh, money and student loans, and you're just off to the races.
Actually, there are 16 states in this fine nation of ours that do require at least one semester of personal finance in high school.
Oh, that's
Uh,
fantastic.
so it is something that, it's a movement, we'll call it. But the reality is, we get just way too many American workers uh, that are being asked to answer some fairly difficult but significant questions early on in their careers with precious little information with which to make good informed decisions. So our organization is hired by the employer
Excuse me.
to engage both in a group workshop setting and on an individual one-on-one basis with their employees. And we give holistic financial planning and investment advice to these workers, and importantly, do so with a conflict-free business model. And when I say conflict-free, what I mean is we don't sell anything,
Mm,
and nor do we contract with individuals. And that's important, at least to our clients. They recognize that when they put an advisor in front of their employees, um, that there's this implied trust there, and if that advisor has products or a wealth management service to sell,
mm,
that advice quickly becomes really thinly veiled sales
mm.
activity. So um, our our clients, companies hire us and pay us kind of like they pay their accountants or their attorneys. We get paid based on our time, and therefore the recommendations we give are solely in the interest of um, these workers. Kind of like if you were an expert in the field and we're telling your mother-in-law what to do, where would you point her to make sure she got the best deal possible? So
Yeah.
that's what we do. We interface with employees both in person, so we are on site a lot because a lot of folks still want to reach out and touch their financial advisor. But we also interact virtually through modems like this, Teams or Zoom or what have you, as well as via a handheld mobile app. So
Hmm.
folks get in touch with us, kind of however they're most comfortable.
I love that concept of financial wellness because, we deal a lot with wellness and, whether it's emotional, physical, whatever the case may be. But I think there's a lot of emotion tied to money, a lot of it. And so that financial wellness is really interesting to me. Whether you grew up without a lot of money, so you might have a scarcity mindset, or you maybe grew up, pretty flush and then haven't been able to sustain that. So, um,
Yeah, there's a tremendous number of surveys that have been done of late, and a couple of the more, I think, maybe obvious but interesting findings. One, about 60% of American workers today are living paycheck to paycheck, and with that comes a lot of stress. And if you're stressed because of money, it affects your health, it affects your productivity. If you're an employer, it affects your employee turnover, all that kind of stuff. So that's a real thing in today's world. Also, the number of large organizations that we're aware of do surveys of their employees. What kinds of things can we do for you as your employer to make your life better or easier? And almost universally, number one on the list is give us some help on the financial side in terms of information, education, advice, etc. So it is something that I would say the employer universe is starting to really recognize, if they really want to attract and retain good employees, this is something they really should be doing to facilitate that. And on a more altruistic level, when you as an employer reach out and truly lend a hand to your employees in this manner, um, there's an implicit kind of thank you that comes back to them, and it really is a community building effort as well. That people, they must kind of care about me because I've worked at 3 other places and never had access to this type of information. So there really is a community kind of environment there, and not all, but a lot of our employer clients are family owned, and it's no surprise to us that a lot of these organizations treat their employees like family, and recognize folks are hurting, recognize folks are lacking information, and are seeking a tool that they can implement and lend a hand to those types of folks. So that's kind of what we're all about.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And hopefully that, if they're invested in their employees in this way, it also is reflected in other kind of practices and benefits at the organizations, and, positive work cultures and things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, what about, so for your own employees, how do you really address kind of wellness and all those kind of great things we were just talking about, like really investing in your employees? What does that look like at Francis?
So, because we're in this business, our employees are, I would say, underneath a tidal wave of information when it comes to finances and financial planning. We meet as a group regularly, mostly to talk about what's going on with our clients, but at the same time, you're hearing about everything we're doing and the issues that people are having, and we're constantly talking about that. So I think our employees feel, just by being here, the financial piece is well in hand. When it comes to the physical wellness piece, we, about 10 years ago now, deployed a physical wellness day where we bring in nurses and do health risk assessments. It's not required, but it's highly encouraged, and so people know every April, I'm going to get my blood pressure taken, a little blood test for cholesterol, height, weight, pulse, all that kind of stuff. Some real general kind of how am I doing health wise, and that's followed by an hour-long presentation by one of these nurses about healthy eating, all the different kinds of topics that they have. Every year we pick something else. So it is important. And again, from a business person's point of view, if we can keep the claims down, everybody pays less in health insurance. So that's a good thing. And there too, of course, folks that aren't struggling with health issues are much more productive, much happier, stick around longer, kinds of employees. So that is something that's important to us as well.
That's great. What do you think over the next few years seeing what's happening with the markets and everything right now, are there educational topics that employees really need to be thinking about for the future of their money?
No doubt. I mean, it depends on your age, of course.
Of course.
But starting from the ground up, the young folks need to know about budgeting. They need to know about credit and how to be responsible with credit. They need to prioritize. That where the savings should go, and I've only got so much amount. I only have a finite amount that's left over, and I've got to be able to prioritize where to put that, and kind of pay myself first before I go off and buy that $300 pair of shoes or something. So certainly the education element is critical. I lost my track. Your question again was
just kind of like over the next few years with the ever changing, what folks should be thinking about.
Right. So I've also written a quarterly column for the Milwaukee Journal as well as the Minneapolis Star Tribune on all things 401k related, and again the topics are all over the place. But I've done it since 1995, so it's been something that I've been passionate about, is communicating to the greater community. Here are some of the things you need to be thinking about. How much should I have saved so far if I'm 30 years old, or if I'm 50 years old, etc. If I'm approaching retirement, what should the 2 or 3 things I really need to focus on to be ready to someday stop working. And when it comes to the markets, continuously reminding people that this is a long-term game we're playing here. This is not something that you can jump in and jump out, or get all that necessarily worried about the latest hiccup in the road, because bear markets are to be expected. They're natural. They've been around as long as the markets have been around, and on average, about 3 times a decade, you can expect a big pullback in the stock market. And if you go into it with that expectation, you can develop a plan where, when those kinds of market events occur, you can actually have a strategy in place that allows you to really take advantage of those kinds of events. And so we preach, asset allocation strategies and rebalancing strategies that really do help people deal with this kind of volatility that we've been seeing so far this year, and really understand that I've got a plan in place to deal with it.
Well, this has been really interesting, Mike. Thanks so much for bringing financial wellness to the forefront. And where can folks find out more about you or get connected?
Sure. Our website can be found at www.francisway.com. And so anything you need to know about us, or if you want to get in contact with us, I would strongly recommend you check out our website. There's a number of videos you can watch and information you can learn about what we do and how we do it. And we'd welcome any kinds of questions you might have.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks so much. And thank you, listeners. I'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us today on our Rise Together podcast weekly hot take series. We hope you've been inspired by today's stories and strategies for building stronger, more resilient communities. Remember, resilience isn't just about bouncing back. It's about growing through every challenge to become bigger and better. If you've enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with somebody who could benefit from these insights. Stay connected, stay resilient, and we'll see you next time.